So in a project, depending on whether, it's usually dependent on whether your organisation is ISO certified or it's not necessarily ISO certified. In a project, it's not necessarily down to your project, it's down to the governing companies that are stakeholders in that project. If any of the significant stakeholders, being the company you're working for, your clients or whatever, have some sort of quality requirement, whether it's ISO or whatever it may be that their auditor walks in to do a scheduled audit or an unscheduled audit at the time when your project's being run, and they might walk in and turn around and say, okay, well, this is how I'm told your project should run. Show me the evidence that proves that you've done this and this and this and this. Now, the instance of that happening is unlikely because most of the time they are quite scheduled in advance, and the quality manager or the compliance manager will point them to where they want them to go to give them the right evidence at the right time. But it's down to the organisation. So every project deliverable should be subject to some form of quality check. So it really does depend on it. Like if you're writing a software program, you really have to check every step of the way so that you don't end up with something that's full of bugs and holes and doesn't actually do what you want it to do at the end of it anyway. So you need to make sure that what you're going through is appropriate and that your deliverables have something before it starts, in the middle and at the end. So it also means that in a project, it's usually predetermined checks at the beginning, as I was saying, at the beginning, middle and end points, not just at the end. Now, external auditors, this is a question that came up in the other qualification, is that when does an auditor actually come into an organisation? They thought they were just going to get sprung on with this person they didn't know turning up on their project, but that's not the way it happens. An organisation, including their auditors, will only come into a company by invitation. So you put your hand up and say, I want to be ISO quality assured, please, and can you come and check my organisation? They will come in and check it, they'll tell you what's missing, you fix it, and then hopefully you become quality certified. Once that occurs, then they will come back and do a quality, do another audit regularly, and they will do recertification audits as well, which means they basically start from scratch I think it's every 4 years, but I can't really remember. So you usually have little audits, and then you have the wholly big audit. They will schedule future visits. They will often forewarn of the topics or the particular business areas that they will focus on. Now, some organisations choose to be quality assured for one part of their organisation, not for the whole thing. So if you're a production company, so say for example, it might just be quality assured for the production facility, not for everything else. There you go. So in a project, you need to ensure that you have process, including procedures, process maps, checklists, etc., in place, so that when you're writing your quality plan, that you ensure that you cover all stages of your project, and even every major deliverable has had thought. Even if you decide that it doesn't actually need anything, then you need to actually go through and tick and flick it and make sure, okay, I've gone through my work breakdown structure, these are the tasks that we're going at, these are the things we're going to deliver at the end of it, etc., etc. Do I need to do anything to check all these things as you're going through? Alright, checklist. Big thing. Checklist to check that things have been done right at the beginning of the day, the end of the day, halfway through the development of a product, halfway through the design of something. Make sure that your requirements are actually being met, or the stakeholders' requirements are being met, so that everyone's happy at the end of your project. So you need to check with your relevant managers if you're not already aware of it, and from what you've all said, you all are. But if you're starting out, and if there's people starting out in project management, they need to make sure that they ask and don't ignore it, and hopefully it doesn't come and bite them, because it will, and it won't be pleasant. So everyone needs to make sure that they begin with the knowledge when they start their project, and they know what's expected of them and what's expected of the project in quality assurance terms, because otherwise if it's not a quality project, and it should be, then every project should obviously be quality, but whether they have to meet certain standards that are set by the organisation, and they need to make sure they know their obligations. Record keeping. So it's a pain in the backside for everybody, but if you don't write things down and you don't keep it, then you won't find it in the future, and it will all turn to custard. So the common sense, or the actual day-to-day activities that happen regarding quality in a project, is that you have a lot of inputs to the quality management plan, including, as we've talked about, the organisational and stakeholder requirements. Now, when you identify activities that need to be undertaken as part of quality control, similar to the risk management plan, similar to the communications plan, those actual activities or tasks should be input into your work breakdown structure or Gantt. And these then become allocated to the appropriate resources with the timeframes and the costs associated with it as well. So it's not a standalone document, it needs to be integrated as part of all the other project documents as well. Then, of course, we have the day-to-day work activities. Once we've got this document, everyone knows what they're meant to be doing, and they go out and start doing the work. Now, depending on the size of the project and the significance of the quality requirements around the project deliverables, you may have a separate quality team that meet independently and or part of the regular, usually weekly, project team meeting. So the quality team may meet before the project team meeting so they have the relevant inputs. But either way, you actually end up with minutes and action items. And if there are obvious issues with the quality or the process or the results or testing results, etc., you have a corrective action document, which is your documentation process for improving the quality of the activities or the deliverable within the project. So that corrective action may then go back and update the quality management plan, and the minutes and action items may also result in more project activities and the things that need to be done, which may include future activities being updated and included within the action items in the Gantt or work breakdown structure. So in summary, plan, do, check, review, or plan, do, check, act, depending on what you're familiar with. Now, in the next presentation I'll go through, which is about PMBOK, they don't have plan, do, check, review. They use different terms, and I'm sure in Prince 2 they use something different again. But as long as you cover the content within those things, it doesn't matter whether they're called Fred, Mary and John. ISO can be applied to a company or a part thereof. Quality certification is for the process, not the product, as I said. You need to ensure the quality plan covers the process, the procedures, the process maps, the checklist required to actually undertake the quality checks you want within your project, and you have beginning, middle and end deliverables.